Hello, everyone. Brad Hairston here. Welcome to Transform Now. My guest today is Jeremy Rossi, the Global CIO of the Intelligent Automation and Analytics Business Unit of SS&C Technologies. Welcome back, Jeremy. I know
Thanks for
you
having me.
were recently featured on the podcast, but for those who may not have heard or seen it, perhaps you could give a quick intro.
I'm Jeremy Rossi, Global CIO, Intelligent Automation Analytics. As you said, I like to repeat myself. I'm responsible for support, product, and development. Basically, if at some point in time, it's my responsibility to make sure it goes. So I'm making sure the product is leading where it should be going and supporting our clients where it is. And yeah, it's been a fun job.
Excellent. Well, Jeremy, I want to start by talking about the space that SS&C lives in. We have so many customers, as you know, and most of them in some form or fashion are involved with investment management operations. Those companies use a lot of technology, and SS&C has over 200 products in that space that support things like portfolio management and trading and investor accounting, regulatory reporting, et cetera. How, in your opinion, is automation and AI a natural extension of what these platforms are already providing?
It's not so that the automation and AI are by itself, it's the speed and the outcomes they give. And it doesn't matter the size. The value is inherent in the repeatability, the deterministic nature of automation, and AI to take on new and interesting problems that we really force a human to be involved in, or at least to understand. So I think it's going to hit anywhere and everywhere in the environment because of the speed, the predictability, and the reproducibility of automation. AI is also transforming it, moving it forward faster because it's such a wonderfully new interface that allows you to interact with systems in a way that feels easier to understand. It's easier to communicate with. And to be really clear, is the wow moment is like, oh, it doesn't feel like a computer. And that wow moment translates over and over because it does a good job. And then the speed, the reproducibility of the deterministic nature of automation. So I think it's going to hit a little bit of everything. In fact, I know it's going to hit a little bit of everything. And
Yeah.
That's what's exciting about it.
Okay. And when you talk about automation and AI and the way that it's evolved, I mean, there are a lot of different pieces and parts to that. There's process mining, there's an orchestration layer that has become even more important today. You have, of course, automation, which has been around for at least 2 decades. You have low code, no code development tools, machine learning, AI agents. I mean, it just continues to expand. How do you see all of these different technologies, not just working together, but how do you see them coming together in the years to come?
The best way I can think about this is that they have no choice to come together, because that's the expectation. We talked a little bit about being fast and performant. You need them all to come together. And that's where what you started out with really does start doing that. And that's orchestration. And it's really just means, how do I coordinate my tools, all of those services, in a way that makes the most sense? So the way I put it to people and the way I talk about it is like task automation has an S curve. That S curve, at some point in time, it plateaus. You're not redeeming the value anymore. You want to get to that next S curve. And orchestration and these other tools coming together are going to start leading that second S curve of automation tools and getting faster and more predictable results. I really think that orchestration is the key component that brings AI, non-deterministic interactions with task-based or deterministic scripts, programs together. To get to a more complete whole as people expect it to work.
There's a lot of companies, especially customers of Blue Prism, for example, that have done automation and now are looking at the benefits of adding that orchestration layers. How would you advise companies that are just at the beginning, trying to figure out where they start?
Always pay attention to the orchestration, but you also have to have the automations in place. You also have to have the tools and the capabilities to do automations, to do predictable outcomes. So I always start with taking the simple tasks, the low-hanging fruit, and automating them, and then paying attention, planning ahead for a year or 2 years to begin thinking about orchestration, AI integration, chatbot integration. But you need to start with the easiest things and the most valuable things. Low-hanging fruit is low-hanging. Take advantage of it, do it now, get those tasks taken off of a human and start doing them at scale.
Jeremy, another hot topic these days, which you are well aware of, is agentic AI. And it's the latest flavor, if you will, of technology innovation. You can't go on social media or talk to anyone, any third party that's, not somehow involved in it. And we recently had a survey commissioned to ask a number of companies. I think it was 1,600 companies we surveyed about a number of topics. We asked them about agentic AI, and 29% of the companies surveyed are already doing something with agentic AI, and then 44% plan to implement it within the next year. However, 78% of those surveyed said they don't always trust agentic AI. What are your thoughts on this type of technology specifically, and how is it trending?
Well, I'm going to answer this in a really weird way. It was something I read that I really liked. Is my worry about AI and LLMs is not what we're going to do with them right now, but with them put into place in production and then they change 2 years later. If you're doing deterministic things where you're expecting a dependable outcome and then you're asking an AI LLM to do that, it could change. Its answers are variable. It's a little gullible. It changes over time. So I think that you need those, and those are required, but they also need to be attached to things that are reproducible, deterministic. And so I want those aspects to be built into the agents. So I really want you talk to the thing, you talk to the AI, you talk to the agent, but when you're going to go move money around, you're going to make something that is, a transaction that you really, really care about, money, family, moving people around. I want a robot to do that. I want to know it's going to error out. I want to know it's going to. And so that's where I see it going forward, is the agents and agentic in all this world is all going to end up in an amalgamation of all of these things. We're going to use the right tool for the right job. And the thing that's going to stitch it together, orchestration. I think LLMs are great. They really did redefine how to use tools in an all new way. And for those people that haven't used them or haven't experienced, they really should. The oh wow moment is when you talk to one, you get it working and you ask it a good question and you get, but more importantly, you ask it to do something you know it's going to get done and trusted on the back end. That's when you're like, oh, I get it now. I get why people are talking about this, because I can get to outcomes quicker using a robot on the back end, an agent to talk to, make sure I'm getting the right combination thereof.
Yeah. And Jeremy, the product development organization rolls up to you, so you're intimately involved with our roadmap and where we're taking our platform and all of our products, for that matter, within intelligent automation and analytics. Maybe you could talk to the role, the importance of agentic AI going forward in our roadmap to some degree. I think that's a topic of much interest. So maybe you could weigh in on that.
Yeah, I think it's important, but the way I put it is that it's a great human user interface. It allows us to do really complicated things with just simple descriptions. And I want to bring all of that technology to bear for our technologies. I want to make it so that you're working with your robots, you can make them better. You want to design a better robot, you can make it better. You can use all of these suite of tools to elevate and enhance your ability to use them. But I don't think we'll ever completely replace the robots, the scripting, the APIs, the backends. I think that that trust has to be there. So what we're doing in the roadmap is just like that, is how do I surface more information to my users, the people that run our infrastructure, that run our applications, and make it so that they're handling their infrastructure better. They're making the best decisions at the time they want, while also informing them of more of the situation that's going on. Surfacing more relevant information, pulling more information from this cornucopia of information that the LLM has access to, and presenting it in a way that's consumable for the user. And so you're seeing more and more of our product head that way, is how do you get the user, the person interacting with our services, to have the most comprehensive information and acting and be able to make the best decisions possible.
Jeremy, I know risk management and governance are part of the fabric of
Yes.
our platforms, and companies have expected that on the RPA front. They've expected it on the orchestration front. We're extending that to the LLMs and how those get used by our customers. When you extend it even further to agentic AI, I would imagine there's a whole nother set of things that have to be governed and mitigated, that it's not a one-trick pony. There's going to be additional things we have to manage. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, we're bringing a product called Tarvos. And so Tarvos is that auditing, anti-hallucination, gullibility test service. So it does something that we think is pretty unique in the market, which is it takes all your queries that are going to an LLM, either chat, API, services, runs it through an audit system, runs it through all of the governance controls you could possibly think. And then it not only records the request, but also records the response. And then reruns the entire response back through these things. So you play forward and then you play back. So at no point in time does any data that you don't expect come back to the user. We'd much rather in the Tarvos system give the user the ability to ask questions and then have them not come back. If they are not going to make sense, their hallucinations are there. So these groupings of technologies are pretty awesome because they instill a little more confidence. They instill the ability to trust that they're not going to leak information. And more importantly, prompt injection is basically mitigated if you're able to see the inputs and outputs of all the systems. So it's pretty awesome technology. And that's what we think is going to be a requirement. We're moving pretty forward in that space, fast forward in that space.
Yeah, beautiful. Let's talk a little bit about adoption. As technology continues to advance, what do you think will be the biggest hurdles for financial services firms over the next few years in terms of adopting and scaling AI-driven solutions?
It's the trust. It comes back to that trust again. We have regulatory requirements. We have many of those trust questions. It's how do you build it into a framework that allows you to audit requirements, the full suite of tools that are necessary to bring it to bear, to augment people to make better decisions, to bring all of all their databases, all their document stores, and bring it back, but then ask questions of it and know that it's not gullible, that it's not hallucinating, that's not taking that sub bullet that says go do something else and go off prompt and go do something different. All that is done by putting a good governance framework in from all applications and all instances of it. I'm going to give a little story. We used a chatbot on a marketing set website to try it out just to see. There was no governance. It was really easy to get it to say anything we wanted it to. And that is because there wasn't a barrier between what the user put in and what the prompts got out.
Amazing. Jeremy, let me ask you about another technology that's under the umbrella of enterprise AI. And it's one that popularity of it has kind of changed over time. It's not new, it's been around for a while, but it seems to be experiencing a new level of relevance and importance for companies that are really trying to reinvent the way they operate. And that's process mining. What is your position on that? And why do you think this might be a critical capability for a lot of companies in this digital era that we're in?
I think the interesting thing is that the AI has made process mining actionable. It's able to go and look at that unbelievably large corpus of data and find the needle in the haystack. And that just wasn't something that was really possible until we had a tool that could deal with the unbelievably large data sets that come in. So process mining was interesting. It was a great idea behind finding new things to automate, and it never really panned out. I love the concept and I agree with it. The data will set you free, but we had no way to deal with it. And now with Audit AI, we're able to really take advantage of process mining and really find the patterns. So I do think we're going to see a resurgence of process mining because AI tools are going to make the data more useful and easier to consume and turn into automations to find more efficiency.
Yeah, it definitely seems like the days of making minor tweaks to processes are kind of long gone. And if you're really going to holistically rethink your core mission critical business processes, you're going to need something that can show that to you in a fact-based way. Get away from getting in a conference room with sticky notes and, the traditional way of doing it.
Yeah, and I think AI is something that's going to drive not just that, but anywhere where you have this large corpus of data. So it's going to be fun times.
Yeah. So Jeremy, many companies that are doing asset management or wealth management or fund administration, many of them are fairly small firms, but they're handling significant amounts of money day to day. Some of them might say that they're too small or they're too unsophisticated to utilize things like process automation or process orchestration or certainly AI. What would you say to them?
I disagree. I just don't think the value's been shown in automation and AI and process mining and all these come together. It's amazing at how much speed some of these things can give you and how much value the speed gives you in reliability and repeatability. And so while it's like, oh, well, my team does that effectively. And I'm like, sure. But what if your team was working with clients, looking at portfolios or evaluating the next company or evaluating the thing that the human can bring the most unique value to? Wow. The parts that are reproducible, the parts that people have to do over and over again each day is taken out of their hands into a way that you have a high confidence, it goes faster, but it also has auditing, it also has reporting, it also has a full history of it, so you can audit it, you can understand it. I think that any company of any size, even the smallest ones, 2 to 3 person firms, need to take advantage of this because it will free up them to work on the most important parts of their business.
Okay. And why should there be a sense of urgency around investing in automation and AI, regardless of the size and shape of your company?
I'm going to do there's the market pressure, which is everybody else is doing it, so I have to, which is a normal part of it. But I actually think the easier one is the reliability and the repeatability. I think that's something that over time has a compounding effect. So you have the S curve of taking advantage of an automation, but once it's there and it's running, you take that value and you consume it over and over again for years and years. And then you take the next one, you build and you compound this knowledge and this automations to the point where you're like, I don't know, it just built into your organization and the value just gets consumed. But once you start heading down that path, the reliability and repeatability of those systems are amazing. And it just pays dividends time and time and time again. And that's not even including the AI aspects, which is allows you to bring a larger wealth of knowledge to a decision-making process extremely quickly. So that is something else that I think is pretty interesting about AI and automation.
Okay. Maybe one final question for you, Jeremy. When you think about this space, enterprise AI, and all the capabilities that are part of it, why do you think it's even more relevant to financial services in the times that we live in than other industries? I mean, it's not just for financial services. It obviously applies to companies of any industry or vertical out there. But financial services seems to be at a critical juncture with things going on in the global economy and what have you. So why would you say it's even more relevant, or it has more to do with how that industry is going to take shape here in the near term?
I'm going to take my last answer and build upon it because it's the exact same thing, except for it's going faster and it's moving faster, and the data sets and the information available is growing growing all the time. So in the financial services world, everything is moving faster all the time. Everybody's building automations. Everybody's using computers to the maximum capability. On top of that, the amount of information being generated is just getting larger and larger. So much like our process mining conversation, in order to make sense of these huge data sets, to find the needle in the haystack, you need tools. You need automations to know that you're getting all the data. Then you need a tool like AI to help you comb through that huge sets of data so you can make the best sense. And I think the financial services world is embracing this probably faster than others. And it's necessary. It's where the world's going, but they're probably going a little faster.
Definitely an exciting time for sure. Well, Jeremy, thank you so much for being on. Again, really appreciate your input on these topics, and I wish you the very best.
Thank you for your time. Glad to be here.